Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Stinging Winds event, in which the Scarabi is added to the game, and of course we have Yellow Doom this week, and this one's somewhat special because this is the final of the 6 Doom-related weapons as far as the ones that actually create Doom Skulls, the actual useful ones. They are planning on buffing the other ones, but as it currently stands, of course, the Doom Skull creating ones are the only viable ones. And the final one of the 6 colors, one for each of the colors, of course, has finally been added, with, of course, the yellow one being added today through the event. But anyways, let's go over the Troop first. Troop is pretty useless, but its Arcane Trait Stone, also pretty useless. It's only used for a few things other than Mythics. It's used for Arcane Golem and Herdmaster early on in the game. Arcane Golem because of stun options, as well as Herdmaster for cleanse, and Divine Shot Bala is used later on in the game for the 40% mana start that has for Divines, as well as Divinish Bala Quillen combo, and a few other pretty potent combos with Divines, and Inferno King, which has a lot of revives and has another double convert similar to Divinish Bala. Generally, double converts are always good. Anyways, as far as this thing, not good. It just deals damage to the last 2 enemies and then stuns and poisons them. There aren't too many stun options early on in the game, however there are better ones, quite literally Arcane Golem. You might as well just be using in most other situations. But it could be okay if you're like really early in the game and you just have no option for stun. But you quickly get them just from doing Hall of Guardians, and you really wouldn't really want to be using this for much. He does give 400 extra gold this week, but he doesn't have much extra going for him. He does have a double damage against poison, which will make it somewhat okay, but the problem is that it ends up poisoning completely random enemies, whereas if it poisoned, let's say, the first 2 enemies, it would be a bit more useful in that regard, since the ones that would actually be poisoned and the ones that it could deal double damage to would actually be up front. But due to its inconsistency, it's probably not going to be used for really anything. It does get some half mana start, which is not horrible, and it also gets a 20% dodge, which, given that you might use this a little bit further up in your team, like second or first slots, that's a little bit nice on it, but overall just going to be completely useless, unless you're under level 500 or possibly even above 200. Anything above 200, you're probably not going to be able to use this thing much. But still, you'd want to get it because it actually does allow Drifting Sands to reach 11 stars, 10 stars and 11 stars. Were able to be obtained, which is 1 whole extra, what page does it show it on? Gosh, right there. It's 1 extra armor as well as a little bit extra tribute reward if you end up getting that, if you're all the way upgraded on it. So a little bit extra there, but not much. Other than that, we have ourselves the chest. Actually, no, I skipped over the thing. So as far as the event thing, we have 10% to all Drifting Sands, 10% to all monsters, quite a few of both within that kingdom. They'll be able to get 20%. I would feel like the best one that would end up getting this is most likely the Great Maul. Everything else that would be able to get it probably wouldn't be able to utilize it much. And you do end up getting 400 extra gold if you use this in PvP when Explore. Wouldn't really bother with it in PvP. However, if you don't really need Class XP, or if you feel like you can fit it into a quick Explore team, putting him into Explore for 400 gold could be worth it this week, just to stack up on that. Other than that, as far as chests, they are pretty bad because Event Keys is Drifting Sands this week. And because it is Drifting Sands this week, there is almost no good drops. As I mentioned, the only really good thing is pretty much Great Maul. As far as this kingdom is concerned, Great Maul has a 100% chance to devour, but it can only be cast once. Also, if you have multiple on your team, it can still only be cast once total. So do be mindful of that. But yeah, you still get 1 whole devour out of it. 100% chance. A little bit of a pricey mana cost, but he does mana accumulate off of that. He also ends up working out pretty decently as a first slot due to the extra stats that he ends up gaining, and is overall just pretty good with skull spam. So he's okay, but he's basically the only thing in the event key drop table that you would actually need. There is a mythic in this drop table. Actually, there's a mythic in all the drop tables now, but it's a pretty useless one. So as far as event keys are concerned this week, it is definitely a week that I would consider skipping it unless you really want to have the Great Maul Devour chance. Do keep in mind, generally Iron Gut is considered better than the Great Maul, so you'd most likely just use Iron Gut instead once you can finally craft a Iron Gut in Soulforge. As far as guild, of course, we have Tower of Doom for Light, and as I mentioned, we get the final weapon finally, all the way on tier 4. That does cost 500 gems, but it is overall cheaper with all the other loot that you end up getting to just buy it this way than it is in the Soulforge. So is worth considering. It is pretty standard as far as all of them do. They just do a bunch of damage, extra based on tempering. Tempering, of course, is whatever number it says over there. So if you have it upgraded to +5, it'd be 5 additional damage. We have it at 10, so that's 10 additional damage. and then converts all the purples to Doom Skulls, and it has all the standard thing that this web would have: gain a bunch of extra mana per yellow enemy based on its color, ends up transforming out the opposite color into Doom Skulls, ends up creating 5 extra Doom Skulls if there's a Doom on the opposing team, which is pretty much only relevant for the final battle in each floor of Dooms, because almost no player would bother using a Doom on their team. And other than that, oh wait, there's nothing over there. But other than that, there was one other thing I did want to show on it, just this little perks real quick. And that is not over there. It'd have to be on one of these teams. I believe I have it set up on this one. So as far as its perks, and we will be going over those teams. And as always, we have them in the description and in the comment section below if you just want to go and copy paste them. And I just clicked on the wrong thing. What I want to go over is to over here. So as far as all the upgrades that this weapon gets, there's only 3 that are particularly relevant. Burn the first enemy. So if you're going to use a hero class that does triple damage on skull to burning enemies, that would be useful, of course, given that it creates its own skulls and does burning. Has Light Storm, which of course is useful given that it uses yellow, and it gets to drain 2 mana from all yellow enemies. So you can end up countering them slightly if you're up against a bunch of yellows. But overall, those are the main 3. You also get some attack reduction and scatter damage, though do keep in mind that the AoE damage takes place before the scatter, so if they have barrier, this 5 scatter won't really help you, and reducing 2 attack doesn't really help. If that was Entangle, that'd be a different story. That would be insanely useful. But 2 attack reduction, particularly later in the game, is basically nothing as far as reducing down their damage. Anyways, that's everything with that. As far as the actual Tower of Doom, though, might as well go do just one little quick battle. Of course, as far as Tower of Doom, haven't really explained it for a while, so figured I'd explain it again just real quick for any of you that are interested. So as far as what you end up doing with this, you would generally want to go and report back to your guild how or what rooms you actually need to do. So you'll have a person or multiple people that will scout out who you need to go and do each of the rooms. So basically, you want to find several specific rooms. You want to find the unlock, which is just whichever one will be giving you the final battle that you'll be able to do. You'll want to have the fireball. This you save for later on, which you use for rooms that basically that you just need to clear. That'll be easier. Given that you only normally need to do up to 26, as in 25's full completion, you're going to want to use the fireball starting normally around 20 or so, or a little bit further than that to get down the harder battles. Heroism's used in a somewhat similar way, in that it just completely clears out a floor. There are 2 main battles that you normally want to do around the 20s, and that is whichever one the yellow and blue floors are. Sorry, not the yellow and blue, the green and blue, I believe it is. It's the one with Astral Spirit and the one with Spirit Fox. The reason you want to have these 2 things is mainly because you're going to be needing it for getting rid of having to deal with their really high true damage. Both Spirit Fox and Astral Spirit have Empowered, and both of their true damages, once you reach further into the delves, are enough damage to normally one-shot you, depending on what your stat lines are. So you normally want to use Heroism scrolls to clear out the entire floor without having to fight that. Haste are probably the least effective ones of the ones you actually want to report back to your guild. Basically, what these are is they give you 1 sigil. Given that every single battle in Tower of Doom costs 1 sigil to use, this doesn't really give you much of a benefit, but the main benefit that this ends up giving is it gives you a chance for a Valraven. And even if you don't specifically get a Valraven on that battle, it moves you closer to finally getting the Valraven. So it basically gives you about a 0.5 of an extra sigil, because approximately every 4 or so battles is a Valraven, and this moves you 1 battle closer towards that. So that's basically what that is. It's one out of any of these that is probably the most worth skipping. However, if you are low on sigils, or if you're playing this event without spending any gems, you generally want to go for these in order to be able to reach 25. Otherwise, you will not end up having enough sigils to be able to do so. Other than that, luck is pretty good if you're going for a leaderboard. Otherwise, it's not really that good either. Or it could be considered absolute best if you're actually trying for leaderboard to some degree. And basically what this does is it counts as 2 Doom kills. So that's really good for as far as a sigil to Doom accumulation method, because normally it would cost you at minimum 2 sigils in order to get 1, and with 1 single sigil you can end up getting 2 of them, so you end up saving quite a bit. So that definitely helps out a lot. You basically get 4 times the value then, as far as how much better that is overall. And other than that, power, which ends up giving +1 to all of your bonuses. As far as what those bonuses actually are, it gives it to the bottom value here. So if we were to get a power scroll right now, it wouldn't increase these numbers at the top. It would end up moving that to 6, that to 6, that to 9, and that to 7. And for example, once this reached 10, then that also would reach 10. But it would only move this bottom number up by 1, not all of them. But a power gives +1 to each of these 4, so it's pretty good in that regard, since you'll slowly end up accumulating stats for your guild guild, and it's better than taking any of the other bonuses. Even something good like a magic, you generally don't want to go for because it's only going to give you +1 to magic, whereas a power is going to give you +1 to all 4 of them for the exact same sigil costs. And those are basically the main ones that you want to go and focus down and just report back to your guild which ones they are and sort it out that way as far as figuring out what rooms you want to end up doing. But anyways, we'll go do a quick fight real quick. I believe 2 was one of the ones that we did need here. I'm currently using this one, and I'll be showing a few other ones in a moment once we finish going through all the other stuff. But I wanted to get at least one battle because, of course, I will not be showing anything with the other troops, so no other battle to show in that regard. But we'll go, and basically the whole premise of this team is we're using a really heavy skull spam related team where we're using the extremely strong Divine Ishbala Quillen combo to basically never lose our turn, or ideally that is the goal, and just keep stacking turn after turn with all of our alignments and just keep getting a bunch of mana that we need for everything. The way that you generally want to use this specific team is you want to feed Divine Ishbala into the Doom weapon, or you want to feed Quillen into Divine Ishbala. Those are generally the 2 orders that you want to do. Quillen then Divine Ishbala, or Divine Ishbala then the weapon. And obviously you can also do Quillen then Divine Ishbala then Doom Blade. But you basically are just trying to look for alignments that you can end up doing on the board, which will end up giving you extra turns that you can then keep stacking into additional damage. And when you don't have any, you could just take whatever extra turns, and if you have absolutely none, you could just take one of the skulls, or just hope that any of the alignment that you have will do enough to actually affect the board. So it looks like we will be able to get the full combo here. We throw that down, we then throw Divine Ishbala, and then we'd hopefully have a Doomed Blade, which we don't actually have extra turn on at the moment. Guess we can move one of these into the right position. Still doesn't seem like we have it, unless I'm missing it somewheres. Do we have another Quillen? The only problem with casting Quillen is it does deny our purple, which we do need for the other convert, which is one of the main reasons why we want to do it in that specific order. It looks like we don't have it, except it's enough damage that I think it will be fine with it. So we'll just do that, and it'll kill it out. Because even though that wasn't an extra turn, it was enough damage to kill. And that's basically all you have to do it for it. And I'll be showing a few other teams in a moment. But before we do, as far as all of the things underneath the games right over here, as far as our weekly events, Tuesday, we have the Stonesong Eyrie as far as the kingdom for that. That one, Harpy faction. On Wednesday, we'll be having a new pet. This is the Zoom pet. It won't really be that useful, but it will be giving a Zoom bonus, so at least it's not a fully cosmetic one, like that cat pet that we had the other week for International Cat Day. But, yeah, it'll at least have some kind of purpose, though you would never really use a Zoom team that has more than 2 Zoom troops. If you're going to be using anything that has Zoom troops, it's normally Glaceon plus Bloodhammer, and you don't really use much else other than that as far as what currently exists within the kingdom. On Thursday, we have no event, because that's because on Friday, we will be having a new class event, and that class will be for the, oh, I forgot what it's called now. But it's going to be a pirate hero class for the kingdom of Blackhawk. Cavier, I believe it's called, or something like that. I should forget his name at the moment. It's going to be really good with a +3 blue. First troop in the entire game to have +3 into a single color. So it'll be interesting to see how that thing pans out. Obviously going to be really good in any team that needs a lot of blue. And it also comes with a really good weapon that is somewhat similar to Skeleton Key. Skeleton Key will still be better than it in some situations. However, this weapon, new weapon, will have twice the amount of damage, except it has no extra turn, and it has completely random targets. So we'll see exactly how that pans out. Should be a pretty good PvP weapon, especially against teams that do not have summons, that you can just cast twice and then end up winning out the battle. It's probably going to function quite similarly actually to Ketris, just with random targets. But as long as you don't have to deal with barrier or revives or anything, it should be a pretty potent weapon. And the hero class in general should be pretty high up there as well. Not the absolute best hero class in the game, but still a pretty solid one nonetheless. Anyways, other than all that, we of course have Soulforge, as always. As far as troops that are worth crafting, there is only one real main one that is worth going for, and that is Ketris the Bull, actually someone who I just mentioned. He is pretty good for Tower of Doom, except do keep in mind, since it is yellow Tower of Doom, he cannot be used to this Tower of Doom. But for red, green, and brown Tower of Doom, he's good for all of them. He's pretty good for low to mid-level delves. The main thing that he's really good with is Yasmin Pride into him. However, any team where you can end up feeding him a upscaling amount of attack, armor, or life ends up working out pretty good. And then you could just go and do it against higher level content. He can also be done to similar level content like pet battles as well as PvP if you end up doing it with a Divine Start or doing it with Shaman. Shaman can start it with 50% mana, and Divine Ishbala can start it with 40% mana. And in both those situations, he obviously gets up pretty quick. The general way that you end up using Ketris the Bull is you cast it on 2nd slot, you cast it on 4th slot, and then you won the battle. That is generally how his damage output goes. And yeah, ends up working out as a pretty decent damage source. Definitely one of the better mythics in the game. Definitely within the top 10 first ones that you'd really want to get, possibly even top 5, depending on if you don't have a proper damage source yet. One other thing to consider is Wardbreaker Breaker. Ward Breaker has a lot of faults, however, it's still a really good full AoE into a static amount of explosions. What's good about this explosions is even if he's webbed, he still gets the full amount of explosions, so pretty good in that regard. The biggest thing that's holding him back is two things. One is he's really bad against Submerge, because he hits all enemies simultaneously, so compared to Infernus, that can basically just completely bypass Submerge, this will not. And the other big issue that he has is he has the second highest mana cost in the entire game with a 30 mana cost, which definitely makes it pretty hard for him to initially accumulate his mana. There's also currently no 50% mana start for dragons nor centaurs. If that ever came into the game, he's probably going to be a lot more noteworthy, but until that happens, he's probably just going to be more towards the average, slightly above average end as far as mythics are concerned. But yeah, generally still some nice utility to have. You definitely want to get Infernus, Ketris, and other similar things before you ever get a Ward Breaker, though. And yeah, that's basically it. Just go for Ketris if you currently want to go and spend your diamonds this week. As far as weapons, there are 4 of them. One is the Doomed Axe, though I would honestly just say go get it for 500 gems from the event, mainly because you'd get other stuff from the event and overall could be considered cheaper than throwing 800 diamonds at this. So most likely you just want to spend it on the events, assuming you have the 500 gems and still want this weapon. I do advise getting it, as all the Doom weapons are nice to have, all 6 of the Doom Skull creating ones. We also have Crystal Axe. This one ends up doing a bonus based on monsters. There's currently nothing extremely broken for this. However, again, into the future, quite a few of these could potentially be useful, but as it stands, there's nothing too potent to use Crystal Axe on. Other than that, Stone Staff, I'm not even going to go show this little thingy. It's completely useless. Don't ever use it. And the other one is Blade of Sands, yet another one that is completely useless that you would only ever really get for the purpose of completionist purposes. So as far as actually crafting these are concerned, ideally get this from 500 gems from the event. However, if you are going to craft something, this is the one thing that you would want to actually have, as you would actually use this weapon, unlike all the other ones. And the next one would be, assuming that you're getting that just with 500 gems, would just be to get the Crystal Axe. It's the least useless of these 3, and if, might have a purpose into the future. But of course you could get all of them if you're just getting them for completionist purposes. But of them, Doomed Axe is the best, and second best is Crystal Axe. Just make sure to get this from 500 gems first from the event if you're going to bother doing the event. Anyways, other than that, let's get into a couple teams then. So just showing them. Won't be using them for any other than the one that we already just showed. But I do want to go and just show a couple. This you can use at lower level ranges for the Delves, just for quick killing. This is pretty much just a standard throw everything into a Divine Ishbala yellow damage team. You just put Divine Protector or Mountain Crusher up front, and basically put every strong yellow damage source that you have behind it. Almost every single yellow, or every single Divine almost has yellow in it, and there are plenty of damage sources that you probably have laying around for. Unfortunately, most of them are Legends and Mythics, so you might not have a couple of them, but it's things like Infernus, Guard's Avatar, Upstead, stuff like that. Some of the average to better mythics tend to have pretty decent damage sources that you can end up using for that with the priest hero classes to get everything rolling. The main one that I would advise using, or some kind of similar variant to this, is the Doomed Axe with Divine Ishbala Quillen. If you don't have a Queen Aurora here, there are a few other alternatives that you can end up putting there for cheaper options, since this is a mythic and you could downscale the stuff that aren't mythic. You can end up putting Cockatrice there for the Entangle and Mana Drain. You can end up putting a Dragonian Monk there for the barrier, so it's still similar to Queen Aurora in that it has some board control and it has the barrier aspect of her. And you can also end up putting a Wrath and just put it into first slot, and with that Wrath you can get 2 explosions per skull. You will have a bit of a slower mana start, however at that point you will have 3 different troops that can double convert. The Wrath, the Divine Ishbala, and the Quillen, so you have quite a bit of options that you can do between the 3 of them. Though I feel like overall that would slow down the team a little bit, but you do get, once it gets going, it'll pretty much just auto-win at that point. And other than that, cheaper yellow team, if you have absolutely nothing, here's a team that uses only ultra rares and below. Mang, which you get for free at around, I believe, 23 brown red hero mastery. This, of course, is just a pretty standard damage source that you just target it on something. You get all of their armor that you tear off as attack, and then you just get a ridiculously high attack value that you can then go kill everything with. So that's the basic premise. You ideally want to use Titan at least level 40, so that every single time you take a barrier, or every single time you take a brown, you'll be able to gain a barrier, which will protect you. Highly advised, if you don't already have Titan level to 40, to definitely go and get it, as well as just getting it maxed in general. It's a really useful hero class and is considered pretty much the best in the entire game for most purposes. It's not the absolute best for everything, but just for most battles, it's going to work out well, and it's one of the best options to use with a Mang. Next, we have Cockatrice here. He's just for the Mana Drain and the Entangle. Entangle to make sure they can't do anything to you with Skulls, and Mana Drain to make sure they can't use their ability. This also ends up creating Browns, which is useful given that almost this entire team uses Brown, and if you get his first 2 traits, it also gets a +1 yellow. Next is Dragonian Monk. We are doing this mainly for its board control. Also, if you end up hitting 4 yellows with it, or any amount of yellows, it will give a barrier per yellow, and if you get 4 yellows or more, it'll guarantee barrier your entire team. It also gets half mana start, so it's not going to be that hard to get up, at least for its first cast, even though it's slightly mana blocked. Assuming you buy at least into the first pack, which only costs 30 gems, you will have enchant. So with his half mana start, it's only going to take him 3 turns to reach full mana with his half mana start. So even though he's completely blocked initially, he will easily get that mana in free turns, so you don't really need to worry about that. And similar to getting its mana up pretty quickly, you'll have a Herdmaster over here. This is mainly for the cleanse, more so than anything. You can use any cleanse option here, really. Divinia would probably even be better, though that's a legend and this is cheaper. And basically it just explodes a bunch of yellow on the board. Probably not going to be too many since you're taking a lot of them, but again, it's mainly for the cleanse. This is to get off freeze off your first slot, Entangle off your first slot, and anything that might have a death mark on them, or any other kind of stats effect that would be bad on them. So you're basically using it for its cleanse. Also, if you have the trait stones to be able to fully level it up, which is actually available to buy for glory, would only cost you 900 glory to get his 3 arcanes this week, you will get an additional +1 yellow, meaning you'll actually have a +2 yellow, and combining that with the banner, you'd have +4 yellow. So you'd be able to get these 3 yellow troops up pretty easily just by taking a couple yellow. It's not going to take that long at all to be able to feed them up, and you just simply take Mang, one-shot them all with your skull damage, and win from there. It's a relatively slow team, but if you have absolutely nothing, that's about the cheapest viable thing that you're going to be able to get away with and still win. 2 other teams I wanted to show real quick. Stonesong Eyrie, we're having the second Tuesday event, I believe, ever for that, and as far as the restriction, it is brown and yellow as far as what it's restricted to. And as far as what you can use for that, basically just standard gargoyle. You can end up using Gimlet for this and convert all greens to brown on your first turn, which will ideally just full out all their mana on turn 1, or at least relatively quickly. And then you just cast gargoyle. If that hasn't already won, you cast Mountain Crusher again, repeat gargoyle, and basically just win from there. That is the game plan generally with this team, and ends up working out pretty well if you're just doing the free battles and not really doing anything beyond just completing out the event. But yeah, that's all you really need to do for the earlier battles. And other than that, as I mentioned, we're getting a new hero class on Friday, the Corsair class. So that's what it's called. Okay. But you end up using Dawnbringer and just put a bunch of support things behind it would be the easiest way to do the free battles for this. You would end up just going and getting Captain automatically through the enchant if you end up getting into it. You can then just cast Dawnbringer with the Scurvy Sea Dogs, feeding them with blue. You have 2 empowers, so you can easily get that mana, and you just spam Dawnbringer to Dawnbringer and just kind of go from there. One of the options to consider is spamming Bonnie Roses if you're going a little bit further. This event you might want to go a little bit further because, of course, it is a new hero class. So it'll have some extra emoji packs and stuff, and of course you'll just be able to get a new hero class up that hasn't been able to be upgraded prior. But yeah, you'd either want to go down the Scurvy Sea Dog route into a bunch of mana accumulation, the Bonnie Rose route in order to do a lot of damage, or the Dawnbringer route just to quick kill everything. Of course, if you really wanted to, you can run more of a skull spam route. You can do that with Mountain, with Mang, Captain Skullbeard, the one bearded guy, I forget his name now, fail. Let's just go to Blackhawk. It's restricted to Blackhawk rogues as far as what we'd be able to use. Where is Blackhawk? It's alphabetical order, still can't find it. But this is what you would have to choose from on the Friday event. So the main ones that you want to focus your team around are Bonnie Rose, because she has really decent damage. Assuming you get to max gold, even without a Cedric, that's going to be 50 additional damage. So you could easily hit into the high 70s or so. Captain Skullbeard is mainly used for mana accumulation. However, it does create some skulls, which would be good with a Mang. Deckhand you probably won't need. However, he does end up getting quite a bit of blue onto the board. Other than that, Little Johnny Bronze is the name I was looking for earlier. He does create a small amount of skulls. It's not too many. It's only 8 skulls. However, he does do an additional 4 per map that you currently have. There's not too many things that could help you with maps. However, if you do happen to get him to do a map, 12 skull spawn or higher is actually pretty decent. So once he finally gets his first map, he's actually going to be somewhat useful as far as his ability. And those are basically the main ones you want to feed around. Scurvy Sea Dog for blues, him for skulls, Captain Skullbeard for mana accumulation, though he also passively does a little bit of skulls, and Bonnie Rose for cast. Any of those 4 are the main ones that you'd want to build around, and however you want to do that with Mang, Dawnbringer, or other weapons is the general focus that you'll want to do for the Friday event, depending on if you're just going for the free battles or if you're doing it all the way or what you end up doing with it. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone!